Welcome to the Auxano podcast, where we listen to our guests speak about their story and the seeds in their life that created their causes of change. My name is Bo DeSeo, the host of Auxano, and thank you for tuning in. This will be episode 1, so as awkward as it might be, thank you so much for listening in. Today, we are joined with the mind behind Shift Combat Sports, a house that has raised prominent, up-and-coming fighters and some national champions. A former fighter that actively treads the road of martial arts, he devotes his life to coaching and training fighters. We are joined today by a Mr. Adam Allahan. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It means a lot to me that you are our first episode.
Pleasure to be here, Bo.
So one of the big things that I really wanted to ask you, especially when it comes to being a young entrepreneur yourself, is when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you were a kid? And now that you're no longer a kid, now that you're a man and you've honed your craft, obviously, what observations would you tell that young man?
I think part of being stricken with a fairly severe case of attention deficit it's always been hard for me to think long term. I've always been a short term goals kind of person, and it really drove me to focus a lot on my creativity, and a lot of the goals that I set for myself, even when I was trying to think a little bit more long term, have always been around creative pursuits. There was a lot of art, a lot of music, and then martial.
Yeah. I remember there was a conversation that we were having previously that you believe that martial arts is art, that there is art in violence.
Absolutely.
Would you mind expanding on your viewpoint?
At a core level, martial arts is it is both martial and art. There's a system, there's a process, but it relies very heavily on inspiration and the expression of those martial techniques. So it will always be played differently from person to person, just the same way a guitar would be. It's capable of all the same sounds, but a person's going to follow the inspiration differently within those techniques. Creativity is kind of everything, and that will inform your decision-making process at every turn.
Yeah. I remember that there was a time where you were talking about how, because of the unique sound of an instrument and the way that you would hit the bag would also produce a unique sound, how has music actually helped cultivate your martial arts, especially in the way that you teach others?
Really, in two large degrees. A lot of the pursuits that I have had in my life have been, it never ends up being anything that you can win. There's no final version of it. You can't win music. You just learn a new aspect of it. You practice a technique, you get better at it, you explore it. And in the same regard, martial arts there's always a new technique or a new variation or a new way to express it. It's helped me view it as a really limitless art, which makes it fun for me because I get to just kind of be brand new at it forever. Yeah. The other thing, and this is a huge tenet of what I teach, is as with most things, there are patterns that can be recognized and therefore manipulated. I think that music is a pattern. Obviously, in its base form, rhythms are obvious patterns, but I think a lot of things can be broken into patterns, and it's been a big pursuit of mine in martial arts to dissolve the chaos of fighting. And not allow myself what I consider a kind of a lazy scapegoat out, to just chalk things up to the chaos of fighting, to look deeper and try to find the systems and the processes and the patterns and the underlying framework for what we're doing, and teach from there, strategize from there, and I see a lot of correlation between music and in martial arts, especially as far as a performance goes. From being on stage for years doing that, the feeling that I get being on stage is the same feeling that I get after a martial arts performance.
Gotcha. Do you read a lot of books?
I don't know if a lot is fair, but yes.